Alrighty, everyone, welcome to the first ever episode. We've got a very good friend of mine. Can't wait to get stuck into it. None other than Mr. Josh Diaz, all the way here in Melbourne from LA, chasing a massive dream in the film industry. He's here in Melbourne for 6 weeks. So I called him up and said, hey man, let's get lunch. And while we're on lunch, I put it on him. I said, hey, we're doing a podcast and you're in. So he's made it out here on a Sunday. Pleasure to be here. Josh, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, brother. Always good to see you, my man.
Love it. So thanks for getting on board and getting behind for the first show.
No, I'm excited.
I'm pumped. This could go anywhere. Like I said just before, there's no time limit, so we'll just wing it. But I've got a few things to get into it. But I want to start with some rapid fire. All right?
Let's do it.
Favorite song right now?
Ooh,
now.
That Sam Smith, David Guetta, Lose Control, I think it is.
Lose Control?
I'm drunk enough.
And he sings for us too. This is good. This is not even a podcast. This is an album.
Yeah, that one, that new club hit. I think it's.
All right, we'll have to. Sam Smith,
David Guetta. It's
all right, I'll have to suss it out.
It's nice, man.
All right, cool.
I'll make no promises.
Oh, no, that one. Yeah, okay, I got it. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, good. Okay. Favorite song to get pumped up to?
Oh man, Annie Up by Busta Rhymes and the Hood Beats.
One song.
That's the
song.
Yeah, it's the song. It's called Annie Up by Busta Rhymes.
Okay, got ya. Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Man, that's a tough one for me.
As an actor, I know you're into it.
Let me just the best movie I've seen in a very long time is this new black and white film. It's called Roma by Alfonso Cuarón, who's a Mexican film director.
You've recently seen that?
That just came out recently. Saw that in LA, and it's on Netflix right now. Literally the best movie I've seen. I would like to think ever.
Really?
Just purely like.
What's it about?
It's based on his life, and he has adapted it obviously for this new film, and it's this young maid, Latina maid in Mexico City, and basically just follows her relationship with the family that she's working for and looking after, and you see all the inner relationships between her and the kids, and her and the mother, even her and the dog, and then her and the husband who's cheating.
And it's black and white, you said?
It's all in black and white, all in Spanish. But
when was it made?
This year. I don't know if it was made this year, but it just been released this year.
Yeah, okay.
But not even in my regular life have I been that available to be moved in so many different directions.
Wow.
And that's what that move did for me.
What was it called?
It's called Roma.
Roma. Alright. We'll have to watch it. And it's on Netflix as well.
It's on Netflix right now, streaming.
Okay. Tonight. It's game on.
Yes, sir.
What is one thing that you hate or dislike and you can't say coriander? I had to put the word dislike because I don't like the word hate. I don't hate anything.
Exactly. I'm the same.
I dislike a lot of things, but I don't hate it.
One thing I dislike is how we can be so unkind to each other.
Okay. I like that. Okay. Cool. Funniest or craziest thing you've ever done?
Funniest thing I've ever done.
Or craziest?
I went to Sexpo about 2 years with our friend Alex Tatis.
Yeah.
And there happened to be a throne there, similar to like the Game of Thrones throne, but it was made out of penises, instead of swords. And I sat on that chair and pretended to be this European porn star, and I was signing autographs. And
really?
Got like all these people lining up taking photos with me, and it was all the guys were in on it. It was great. Yeah.
So you had guests 100%. Of Sexpo as well that were just walking their aisles.
People were walking, they just saw me sitting there.
And you would have been owning it as you do.
100%. Name was Rico Boom. I had the whole thing.
Rico Boom.
And they had Tattison in the corner, like, yeah, now come get your signature with Rico Boom and Callum as well. Like,
and you guys just winged it on the spot.
Everything.
You just winged it on the spot, like you saw it there.
I was like, I'm doing this.
So what was that chair meant to be doing anyway?
I think it was a part of an exhibit that no one was
at
there.
That time.
And it was just empty. So I just took advantage of it. And
so you guys owned it?
100%. That was my
chair.
How
long did it last until?
I 100% was there for like 35, 40 minutes.
Did you guys leave or got kicked out?
No, we just left. We were like, I think that's enough. Like,
Rico's done. He's busy. He's got work to do.
Too many autographs.
Did you just make up some signature, or did you just everyone was different?
Like I was just like the same kind of thing, cursive, not too similar to mine.
What was your name? Sorry.
Rico Boom.
Jamie, I'll give you one. To Jamie, all the best. Rico Boom.
That was probably the craziest thing that was.
It's pretty funny too.
In the moment too,
Yeah, it's just like winging it, walking through.
Just going for it.
It's like fuck it,
100%.
make it happen.
That's what I'm about.
Books or audiobook?
Audiobooks.
So you rather listen than read?
Yeah.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Yeah, that's why you moved to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good in either weather, but I just think people have more energy. You know, not everyone's
Totally.
as optimistic or in charge of their mindset during winter.
Yeah, it's weird like that, isn't it? I think the
You need
rain,
that
the cold.
serotonin
Even
release.
here, like as soon as the sun, especially in Melbourne, because we get every single season in
In
5
1 day.
minutes. Yeah, you know. So I think as soon as the sun comes out, everyone says good morning to each other. Everyone's like, "Hey, how's your day been?" It was like 2 months ago when it was pissing down rain and it was freezing. You didn't want to know me.
Yeah,
now the sun's out. You want to be my best mate.
Sad, man.
It's funny you say that. When I was on site, similar to what your past, when it was 35 degrees, we'd get heated off, and when it was 35 degrees, everyone was best mates on site. It didn't matter who you were. When everyone was leaving and like running out, people were saying hello to everyone. Like again, half an hour before, everyone hated each other. It's like, you're a plumber, I'm a carpenter, don't come near me. You're a sparky, don't talk to me. If your shit's in my way, bad luck. But as soon as it was 35, everyone was best mates. It was like we were all humans again.
I need help with that, mate.
Yeah. You want to help me pack up so we can get out of here, get to the beach? It was cool. It all worked. Okay. If you could choose to have lunch with any one person in the world, any one person, anywhere, anyone, anywhere, but you've only got a 2-hour limit, who would it be? So it's not like a 24-hour date. It's only 2 hours you got. Anyone in the world,
Anyone in the world.
and you could go anywhere. Who would it be and where would you go?
Right now, it'd be David Goggins.
David Goggins, love it.
For sure.
Where?
Where, man, I'll go to Sizzler with him. I don't care where we go.
Yeah.
I'll have a picnic or something. You know what I mean? Like, it
David
doesn't
Goggins.
matter. David Goggins, for sure, has had a remarkable impact.
Definitely.
In 5-6 weeks of I first heard his podcast with Joe Rogan like a year ago, and he was always in the back of my mind. I was like, oh man, this guy's great. And then some things happened in my life, and then put me in a position to be open to actually receive the information that he's actually putting out there, his story, and to be truly affected on a energetic level, and then put what he kind of does or some of the practices he does into practice. And man, I'm just a different person now.
Love it.
So I appreciate that. So I'd love to get some FaceTime with him.
So sit down with him for 2 hours, just pick his brain.
Yeah, I know what he's going to say, man. He's like, you just need to keep going.
But you just want to hear it from him in the flesh instead of watching on a YouTube video. Definitely. What was 10-year-old Josh like? Scared. What were some of your positives, like your strengths that you probably look back on now that were there? Maybe some of the weaknesses or the limiting beliefs that you think you might have had?
When I was 10, I was very, very, very timid, very scared, very quiet. I had an interesting upbringing. So, I mean, for me, it wasn't it was a survival mode for me.
Yeah.
For 10 years old. So, it wasn't too many, I guess, happy times I could recall. But, I mean, that's life, how it is.
Definitely.
But, definitely scared.
Scared, timid.
Quiet, kept to myself.
Positives? Any strengths that you look back on now that you think, I was good at this or I had this or whatever it may have been?
I guess I could say, I had family. We had food.
Yeah.
There's some good things. I had a roof over my head, clothes. Yep. Those are the most positive things I could think of those times.
Love it. So now you've made the journey. We spent most of 2018 in LA. We'll get to that. But before that, like what happened with school? Where did school go? How far did you get in school? Did you do uni, TAFE, college, any of that? What work did you get into? Give us a lowdown of, say, from 15/16 till 21, 22.
All right, yeah. 14, I made the decision to go out on my own. I ran away from home.
Okay.
So I started doing my thing. I kept going to high school. I had a local job at a pizzeria.
Yeah.
Making pizzas,
Same school?
Same school, everything, just had, got my own place and stuff.
Wow, okay.
Started making pizzas and whatnot. And then I got all the way to the 11th grade for VCE. So it's like your SATs for the Americans.
Yeah.
And then the final year I did like a sports. It's for people who are gifted in sports.
Okay.
Year 12.
Yeah.
Equivalent thing. So it was still VCE or SAT kind of level, but it was all based around sports. So it's like, you want to write an essay, it's about a sportsman.
Okay.
You want to do something, it was all relevant to sport.
Yeah.
So I did that.
What was your sport? Like, did you have a thing on sport?
Yeah, I was a runner and
awesome.
AFL. Yeah.
Love it.
I was playing AFL.
Yeah.
So they were my sports. And basically, I always knew I wanted to move back to Melbourne because I lived in the country for a couple of years there. and I got a full-time job working at Repco
Love it.
as a delivery driver. Now, I didn't have anyone to teach me how to drive, obviously.
Okay.
So, like...
Did you legally have a license, or you just winged it as well?
No, so I faked all my hours in my logbook.
Wow.
And I'd never driven before. And I went in to go for my actual license.
Mm-hmm.
And coming out of the intersection of Vic Roads, I almost got T-boned. So I didn't even get out of the actual building. It's like, you need to turn around. Fail instantly. That was the first time.
Like when you're doing the actual test.
It was like, all right, cool, we'll start the test now. Go to the stop sign, almost get T-boned. Coming out of their car park. So it was instant fail. I was like, all right, whatever. So I came back like a month later. I passed magically, I don't know how.
Yeah.
And then the first time I ever drove in a car alone was my first day at this delivery driving job. And so I got through the first day, no crashes. I was like, oh, this is easy.
I can do this.
Driving's great. And then the next day, I think it was about 9 a.m., I backed into a wall, broke the back tail light. Boss comes in, he's like, what'd you do? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, all right, it's fine, I understand. Things happen.
Yeah.
And then about 2 hours later, I smashed the other one.
Oh.
Did both taillights in the day. I think it would have been better if I just did them at the same time.
Correct, yeah, definitely.
And then he comes in and just looked at me, and I was just like, I'm so sorry.
Was this in the yard, or in the car park?
This is at a mechanic's place.
Okay.
The mechanic called up, he was like, look, your driver just hit my wall, blah, blah. So he already knew before I came in. I was like, oh man, I'm getting fired for sure.
Yeah.
And he was basically just like, let's just call this a bad day. And I was like, oh.
Well, don't worry, Repco had the part to replace it anyway, so
Well,
it's all
exactly,
good.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we did that, and I got off, and I was there for like 6 months, and I never really knew what I wanted to do, like life-wise. I knew I didn't want to be a tradie. I knew I didn't want to go to uni or college or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I had no real direction to follow, and I was living by myself, I was being my own man.
Yeah.
But I was always, movies were my escape as a kid, TV, film, and music. Entertainment was very great for me. It kind of gave me the permission to feel things, you know what I mean, and be okay about it.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, I used to do a lot of impressions, and like I could remember pages and pages of dialogue from movies. I watched a movie once and I remember the whole thing.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the guy I worked with, he was basically like, he's like, why don't you be an actor, And I'd heard this a couple of times, and I was 18, and I was just like, I don't know, like...
Had you thought about it before then, though? Before he...
Not like I'd been told it before, but I hadn't been like, should I be an actor? It was just like,
it's a possibility,
whatever,
Yeah.
And I just remember this distinctly. I went out on my shift, and I went for like an hour drive to this place in the country. And I was like, I kind of thought about it. I was like, well, I really love acting, like as in the movies and stuff. Like I love the impressions and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of clicked in my head where it was just like, why can't I do that? And not the fact that it was like, why can't I do that? But then realizing, well, I can do that. Like I'm free. Like I'm absolutely free. Like I can chase that if I really wanted to.
100%.
And then it was just 0 to 100 real quick. I got back and I just started looking up acting schools.
So you're 18 at the time?
I was 18 at the time. I was looking at acting schools. I'm like, all right, cool. It's an acting school here in Caulfield in Melbourne. It's a 2-hour train ride. I can do that every Wednesday after my shift and come back at midnight and go to work again. So I was doing that for like a month. And then I had a family member pass away. And then all in that 2 weeks, I was like, I'm just moved to Melbourne. So I moved to Melbourne. I had some friends working on the railway. They're telling me how much they were making and no education or whatever. And I was like, yes, absolutely, I can work with my hands.
Yeah.
And so then I organised to get that done, that course. And then I was in Melbourne for like 3-4 months. Finally got the call, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I need to be in America. I need to be studying at their schools. That's they got some of the best actors in the world.
Yeah.
And so I found a school. I'd reached out to them and stuff, and all these beautiful things were just kind of happening at once. And then I got a job in the mines. So you know what that means.
Definitely.
You're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're making money. So
You're
I'm
making
like,
great cash.
I'm going to jump on the rail, save money so I can go to this acting school and afford to live there for a year or 2 years, however long it may take.
Yep.
So that's basically what I did. I went over to WA and I was just saving and working harder than ever.
What was your shifting like? What was your shift?
Just doing 4 weeks on, 1 week off.
Wow.
And with arguably the best rail crew in the world, we hold the rail records for like the fastest amount of track laid and all these type of things.
In that 4 weeks, did you have any days off, or was like actually 4 weeks straight?
You work 13 days, 1 day off, 13 days, 1 day off, and you have your 7 days off.
I still had that vision though.
You know, I actually gave up. I'm like, you know what? I'm 19. I'm making like $3,500 a week. Like, I'm good. Like, I can have 3 or 4 houses. Like, I can live that kind of, you know, that lifestyle. Like, I don't really need to chase that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making money. You know what I mean? I'm living a great life.
It's comfortable
here.
doing that, eh?
It was comfortable.
It's
and
easy.
and every time I would watch a movie, you know, Foxtel, you know how they have the previews for the movie channels.
Yeah.
And like that would just inspire, but also tear me apart
Burn a
because I
little
knew how much it made me feel. You know, how inspired it made me feel. It's like, I just need to be doing that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, all right, you know, so I'm back on track, you know. And it was like I say, I give up. I'm talking like I give up for like a day.
Yeah, of course.
And then I try and watch a movie.
That's that self-doubt, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that doubt that we have.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then eventually I got accepted into Stella Adler, which is a pretty recognizable school.
How old at this stage?
So I was like 19.
Okay.
Like I've been doing this for like 6 months or 7 months.
Yeah.
And I saved up money and I got in, and basically I came back to Melbourne, and it was just like I'm just going to relax for the last 6 months before I move away for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I ended up moving up to the Gold Coast to relax, and then I was like, what am I doing? What is this? Like, I don't even like being up here. It's so slow. And I was like, well, I need to get a job or something. So then I got a job selling charity.
So why did you have that 6 months off? Is that because the class was going to start?
It started in May, and we were basically finishing up in like September or something.
Okay.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go home, or I'm gonna go somewhere and enjoy,
just hang out for a bit,
and just chill. You know, save the money. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I went up to the Gold Coast with me and Cal.
Yeah.
And basically, I was doing like door-to-door sales. You know, and this is where I kind of got like the first influences of like mindset and you know, keeping your head and self-development. You know, a lot of these guys, these salesmen, you know, you going and knocking on people's door trying to sell them a charity. Everyone's like, no one wants that, you know what I mean? And then to be able to like convince people and persuade them in an honest direction, and get them to sign on, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And you kind of learn how to connect and talk to people, which is imperative in any job in life, you know what I mean? So I did that, and then I moved back to Melbourne.
So you did that for 6 months of door-to-door in Gold Coast?
I did that for like 4 months, and then I was like, you know, I'm not making that much money from it because it's commission only.
Yeah.
You know, I was only getting good at the end, but I'm still spending the money that I saved from the mines. And all of a sudden, I've spent all, you know, not all, but like a good amount of money that I had planned for America. I'm like, I need to go home and make some money. So then there was this shutdown here in Melbourne that I knew it was like, it was crazy money. It was like $90 an hour, 12 shifts.
Yeah.
You know, crazy.
Yeah.
So then I called up the company, and I knew he was from New Zealand, this guy. But, I mean, I had never met him. So when I called him on the phone, I pretended that I was one of the bros. I was like, oh, kia ora, my bro. Just heard you got a shutdown. Want to come down for a couple of shifts, see? He's like, oh, yeah, sweet as. Come here, come here next week and sign up. And next thing I was on this shutdown. And then all of a sudden I worked like 18 days and just made all that money that I just, you know, spent.
Awesome. Yeah, burn.
And then, boom, you know, I was in LA and I just had I don't know what it was. I didn't know anyone in Los Angeles.
Hold on. So before we get to LA, before we get to that part, obviously there was, like, you moved to the Gold Coast and thought, I'll just chill. Then you spent some cash and it was like, shit, that's the cash I wanted for LA. How much time did you have to make that cash back, like on the rails here in Melbourne?
When I came back, I think I had like 2 months.
Okay.
If I didn't leave that day that I left, I would have missed out on that
opportunity.
That shutdown.
Yeah.
Which made me like 20 grand in a week, 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
You know, something crazy like that.
So, if you, like, to me, like, I'm just thinking about it now, I'm just saying, okay, cool, well, you could have done nothing for 2 months and still gone to LA and try to make it work on that smaller budget that you had. But why did you decide that you needed to go and make more money? Like, why?
Well, I knew I couldn't work in LA legally.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm on a student visa.
Correct.
I paid my first 6 months of school, which was like 15 grand.
Yeah.
And
is that every day school, like the
Yeah. So it's like 5 days a week.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and the more you progress in the program, obviously there's rehearsal dates for plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I knew that, like, I had no I had no one else to go to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this all by myself. So I'm like, well, I can't go there with 10 grand. You know what I mean? For 2 years, like, let's be realistic.
Yeah, okay.
I still got to find an apartment. I still got to pay that rent. I still got to eat.
You got to live.
You know what I mean? And then I got to pay the school tuition, which was like another 20 grand that I still had to pay. You know what I mean? So it was like, yeah, I got to go make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, this is just going to be a complete, you know,
I know that you knew the rail and you knew, like, that system, but why not just, like, go and get a job at Macca's or something? Like, did you start straight at the top and, like, try and make the top amount of money, and then was that your goal to work down? Like, why not just get a job making coffee?
I had a couple of friends who had just jumped on the rail, and they told me they'd work, Friday, Saturday night, and they'll make it $1,500.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, well,
And is this for the shutdown period?
this is any
general.
day, in general, that's kind of standard of money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, hell yeah, like, you know how much money I could save if I'm making that and I'm only working that? Or if I'm working a lot, how much even more I can save?
Correct.
So I'm like, well, let me jump on the rail. If I'm making 2 Gs a week or 3 Gs a week, I can save nearly all of that, and then I can get there quicker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all about like time periods. Like, all right, well, I'm 20 now or 19 now.
Yeah.
Like, I got
2 months to get.
I need to get done. Yeah. Like, I need to get that momentum going because this is a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, the earlier you get started, I feel like it's the better it is for you. You know what I mean? You're in the game. You learn.
100%.
So I was like, let me jump on the rail. Why wouldn't I want to earn $3,000 a week? And instead of making like 400 or 500 in a cafe
and working probably 3 times the amount of hours.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, absolutely, I'll jump on the rail and I can save quick, pay for what I need to, and then.
And you already had that skill and knowledge anyway. So going in there, it wasn't like you had to learn something new. Like you already knew that.
100%.
It was almost just like going. It was like being back in WA. It was just here. You were just banging out for 2 months and then I'm out.
Yep, basically.
So then you moved to LA. You went to the school. That whole process started.
Yeah. So I got off the plane, terrified. I'm like, what am I doing? I've never really been out of the country. I think I went to Thailand or something once.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving all my friends behind, and they're my family basically. So I'm leaving them all behind, and I get on this plane. I'm scared. I'm terrified. I didn't know a single soul. The only person in the United States that I had talked to was the dean of the school. That was via Skype. So I'm going to a country with 370 million people, and I don't know a single soul.
One guy.
You know what I mean? Like,
one guy.
I have no idea. So I get there and I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I get through customs and whatnot. I get in the cab and I'm like, all right, we need to find me an apartment. It's a Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. I'm like, well, let's go find my school first. And my school's on Hollywood Boulevard. And so we go to the school. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's try and find an apartment close to here so I can walk. So we're driving around, calling up all these real estate numbers, on the buildings and stuff like that. And then eventually we go into one real estate agent and then we look at all the listings. And I call this one place. I'm like, no, too much. You can call this other place and I find a place in the Hollywood Hills under the Hollywood sign. I'm like, all right, let me go check this place out. And so I go check this place out and this little Jewish guy is still a friend of mine now. One of the nicest people, and I definitely believe he was like a gift to me because LA is full of not so nice people.
Yeah.
And first thing he opens the door, I called him up and he's like, yeah, come check it out now. He was in a position where he needed some money as well. So he answered the door and he's like, oh my God, you look like an actor. And I was just like, yes, absolutely.
Already winning. Only been here for 5 hours and winning.
I looked at the place, it was awesome. It was this beautiful place. And I was like, I'll give you 6 months rent right now. And he just looked at me, he's like, yeah, okay, sure. Absolutely. Wow. And I'm like, oh, can move in today? And he's like, oh, I can't. I mean, I have a week left before I'm going back to Canada. And I'm like, oh, where am I going to stay for a week? And then he's like, look, let me drive around to all the hotels and whatnot and see if there's a place you can stay for a week. And it was playoff time in LA and everything was booked out.
Yeah.
And by this point, it was like a 35, 40 degree day in LA. It was hot.
Standard, yeah.
And I'm jet lagged, like I'm passing out in his car, this complete stranger, and I'm basically falling asleep. And he's like, tell you what, come to my place. There's 2 bedrooms in this place. He's like, stay in here, I'll charge you like $50 a night or something like that until I leave.
Yeah.
So basically, I did that, and,
nice.
and he was taking me to school, and like he was really showing me LA like a version that most people wouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
because
from a local.
They don't care about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Correct. Definitely.
I went to school and then completely just was out of my depth, but I just knew that I had this mindset. I was like, whatever they need, I'm just going to...
Out of your depth in what way though? Like skill level or just like personally didn't feel... In what way? Like how did you feel out of depth?
Well, I mean, in life, you put on layers and layers of personality to, protect that little boy and girl inside of all of us. You know what I mean? So for me, with my upbringing, there's a lot of layers, and to be an actor, you need to be fully available. And you kind of see how much armor you put on when you're trying to go in an acting class and hit a scene that requires you to be vulnerable. So I'm doing all these scenes. Next thing I'm crying all the time. I'm like, what's going on here?
Crying for the scene or like crying because you were just crying?
Just releasing, just releasing all these things that were blocking me. And like that was a lot of people. And then all of a sudden you realize, there's the artist inside you and you do feel things and you do have these kind of artistic outlooks on like movies, TV, film, life, so you're changing and changing and changing. And that leaves you open a little bit to vulnerability. And what I noticed was I was getting taken advantage a little bit by some people. And me, I'm always a fighter, you know what I mean? So I never really took that. So I had some issues with some of my teachers, you know what I mean? But I was learning a lot, and I always made sure I did the work.
Yeah.
You might not know what you're doing, but if you can at least put the work in, the effort kind of shows, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny, when you go to an acting school, you just think that everyone loves acting and they want to be an actor. It's like, yeah, that might be true, but when you got to get up and do a scene in front of the class, you'd be very surprised how many people actually put their hand up. It's like they all got to go, but they're all going to sit there and wait for someone else.
How many people in the class?
Like 15 to 20. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just, I had a lot of my teachers were always throwing a lot of Marlon Brando stuff at me. I guess, they felt like I looked like him and whatever, you know. So, like, I was always doing a lot of research on him and, De Niro, because they went to that school.
Okay, yeah.
So then I always knew, and from the teachers that taught them as well, they were basically like, they was the first to work, they was the first to get up, and I'm like, absolutely, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? So, like... And
that's stuff that you can control.
100%.
You can control turning 100%. Up half an hour before, like, class starts or work starts or whatever it is.
Always. Yeah. And, so as soon as the teacher was like, all right, who's up next? I was terrified, petrified, you know what I mean? But I stood up, always, without doubt. That was the reaction, just stand up. Because if I stand up, it's too late. I gotta
you
go.
Can't sit back down, yeah.
You know what I mean? I gotta go do it.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. And then a lot of people would just be coming up to me like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's like, I just stand up. It's like, we're here to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to watch other people.
I'm coming away from fucking Australia.
You know what I mean? I'm not here to chase my dreams and then let the fear keep me in the chair.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of these people, they're like lawyers, or they're just, rich kids from other countries that are trying to, they want to be the actor, but they don't really want to put in.
Yeah. There's a want it, and
there's the fear, you know, which is real in all of us. But I'm always, if there's no adversity, I really kind of struggle to find...
Like, in that situation, like, honestly, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Exactly.
Like, if you stood up and you forgot your lines and you full stuffed it up, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? The teacher would say, all right, Josh, sit down.
Well, it's not even that. They'll just be like, oh, let's go again.
Even better.
You know what I mean? Even on a film set, like, people, they get so worried and so anxious. They're like, oh, my God, do I know my lines? It's like, hey, man, this is not a one-take shot.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, all right, cut, let's go again. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's one thing in life where, in life sometimes you don't have that opportunity. You kind of need to nail it the first time.
Yeah.
Or, it's more challenging. But in acting, it's like you can be whoever you want, act however you want, and then be able to do it as many times as you want. Yeah. Obviously within reason. You can't.
Of course, yeah.
You can't do
but
it
again, that's what separates.
Times, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just kind of this world where you can kind of walk around and be whoever you want. And then all of a sudden, you don't need to be that, that covered up person that you might be in Australia because of the life you've had there.
Do you reckon that helped? Not so much like the acting and then having to be vulnerable, but more going somewhere else, as in LA, not knowing anyone, and then you could almost like create a new Josh. Like you could create, this is the person I want to become. Like this is the person I always dreamt of being. This is who I want to be. I can go there, be that, live in it, and then bring that back with me to Australia. Was that sort of almost what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. There was, all of a sudden I was this, very deep and creative person. Like, you have kind of traces of these in your personality growing up. Well, I did. Yeah. But it wasn't like I wouldn't define myself as an artist when I was growing up. Okay. But now I'm like 100%. You know what I mean? Like I've got creativity just flowing always through me. And I'm constantly trying to be as open as possible. Yeah. One thing that what definitely changed me in LA was realizing how much I didn't know about the world. Okay. And being uneducated in just people and in history. Not so much like what's the square root of 25, like things that don't really matter, but actually why people are who they are, or why we have acted the way we have in the world. Just people, anthropology. So then all of a sudden I got this crazy obsession, which is research, and then I'm documentaries, and I'm reading books, and I'm reading plays, and then you see the plays that are influenced by like the Great Depression. You got Chekhov, who's writing about all the rebellion.
What year were you there? So what, that would have been
2013 and 14, I think it was.
Okay, so it's sort of just as the whole like the GFC sort of started to come back up.
Yeah, when I went there, the dollar was at like 91 cents. Yeah,
so I was there in 2012 for a holiday, and it was over $1.
$1.10 or something.
So you're probably back on as America was getting their shit back together. Yeah. Alright, cool. So you definitely would have seen a very different America to what it might be even today.
Yeah, well, I feel like LA is just one of those places that just doesn't really change too much. You don't really see it.
Doesn't impact it as much.
They don't show it.
Okay.
You know,
it definitely impacts it, yeah, but like you said, they don't show it.
It's Hollywood, you know, the idea we got from the movies and TV, and then you go there and you're like, this place is actually pretty ghetto. You know, it's got the most homeless people in all of America. Crime's crazy, you know what I mean? There's the boroughs of every sort of lifestyle there. But they've got a really great marketing tool to promote it to the rest of the world. It's like, this is LA, baby.
This is film music.
City of Lights, you know, City of Angels. You go there and it's like, what is this? This is not even, you know, remotely what I thought it was.
I felt the exact same way.
You know what I mean? But
I felt the exact same way.
Any place, you know what I mean? It also made me appreciate being from Melbourne.
Yeah, definitely.
Or Australia in general, but definitely Melbourne. But you see people for what they really are. And I think that's an amazing tool to have in life, because all of a sudden you have these gifts and you're like, I know exactly what you're doing here. I see your angle, and cool, you do you, man.
Do you reckon you learn a bit of that skill from that period of door-to-door sales?
That too, 100%, like reading body language and tone.
Understanding people,
definitely building rapport.
And then being an actor, having to sometimes play the role of someone being scared, or actually play, even though you're not scared, or play the role of someone timid, play the role of someone excited, then you almost start to feel that, and then you can see it in someone else's eyes when they're playing that trait. You can pick up on it.
I think one of the most important things for any actor, or I would like to say anyone, because I feel like acting can translate straight into a real person to become a better person. Because at the end of the day, acting is all about being available and open. You know what I mean? So if I'm sitting here and I'm open with you, you don't have to say anything, but I instantly can feel how you're feeling, just by how you sound or how you look. I don't need to, pick up on anything. It's already there, the information. You just have to trust within yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's like, like you're playing a character that's scared, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not playing that. I either am that or I'm not that. And that's the difference between a great actor and then an actor. You don't really want to be acting. You want to be living. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just want to be being in that moment. And that's what it breaks it down to. So just always being open and kind of tearing away all these armor plates that we put on ourselves. That's what it truly comes
down to. Like you said as well, that's life, like being present in the moment. Like you don't have to pretend to play a certain role or play a certain whatever it might be. Like you're just present in that moment. Whatever it is, it just happens, and that's you right there and then. All right, cool. So that was when you were 20, 21, first time in LA.
2021,
yeah. So then what happened after that? Did you come back? Did you stay?
So I ran out of money. So I ended up getting a scholarship to the school because I knew I couldn't get the tuition.
Okay.
So I got the scholarship, but it still wasn't enough to cover like food and rent and basic stuff.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving LA with some pretty...
How long were you there for?
I was there for like 10 months or 11 months.
Yeah.
And great experience, but also had some forming experiences as well, you know what I mean? Had some negative, or I guess character building, let's place it that way, because I don't see it negative anymore.
Definitely.
But at the time, I wasn't equipped to deal with what was happening, some of the things. So
basically... From where, like social circles or...
social circles, just like the dark side of Hollywood that you kind of hear about, you know what I mean?
Being 20,
the Me Too thing, you know what I mean?
If
you're a good-looking guy in LA, it can be pretty ostentatious for some people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
definitely.
Had some experiences, learned, and I came back, and I was like, I'm going to go back to Australia. I'm going to get the correct visa, the working visa that's going to allow me to come back here and work as an actor. So I'm like, all right, this will take me like 10 months.
Okay.
I'll put that kind of, I'll go back to the mines. I'll do acting work in between. I'll save up a whole heap of cash and I'll come back. Yeah. And that did not happen. It ended up taking me like 3.5 years to get that visa.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So
is that the actual general process, or that is just how long it took you?
That's just how long it took me. You could do 2 episodes on Neighbours, because what happens is you need basically have credits. Like you need to have booked roles for then. So when you go to apply for the visa, they're like, all right, what have you done before? Like you can't just be an actor because you say you are.
Correct.
Like show me what you've done.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Makes
so
sense.
if you've got no credits, you've got a couple of short films. You know what I mean? That's not going to get you a visa in America. It's the hardest country to get into in the world.
Definitely. Yeah.
So then I not only needed that, I not only needed to save money, but I need to get these credits.
Yeah,
so I went back to WA working for BHP.
Yeah.
And I was miserable. I just was living my best life, and then I'm coming back to this habitual tendencies of trying to be the big macho man, on the railway and stuff. So
did you cop a bit of slack from the boys?
No, like all the guys on the rail, like I felt like they were
Was it the
always
same crew, sort of? The same.
Like I knew these people.
Yeah.
Like I'd worked for them before the first time.
Yeah.
So they were always supportive, you know. And I was
Awesome.
doing auditions when I was in the mines. You know, they would read these miners were reading lines with me and we're filming
awesome.
auditions and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's sick.
So they're always supportive. I always
Yeah.
definitely liked that. Like I never had anyone on the rail to directly to my face be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" type of thing.
Awesome.
I feel like everyone was.
It makes it easier.
100%.
It makes it so much easier.
I actually, I've thought about this because you hear about, you're always going to hear about the people that are going to knock you down.
Yeah.
You need to keep going. I'm like, well, what if there's no people knocking you down? Then it's up to only you to keep yourself going.
Definitely.
So it's like, I feel like that's more pressure.
I was about to say the same thing.
It's very easy to go against someone and be like, nah, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, that's my fuel because so-and-so said I
yeah,
can't.
but if you've got no fuel, it's like, you've really got to want it.
Yeah.
So I
and
definitely
then all of a sudden all these people are countering you because they're all like, yeah, go Josh, do it.
Like, I was like, all right.
And then all of a sudden you're letting these people down.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
So that's the way I kind of saw that.
Yeah.
So I went back and then I was very unhappy, very unhealthy mentally in WA. So I came back to Melbourne, still on the rail, but just here.
Yeah.
And this wasn't too long after I first met you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
And that definitely was huge for me, like meeting you guys, you and Taddison.
Yeah.
And mindset was really starting to come into my daily life and stuff like this. So then all of a sudden, I was gaining this energy and this positive kind of mindset. And,
love it.
And setting goals and
Had you started to give up at all? Not give up, but doubt? Because you first said 10 months, and then even after a year, then even after 18 months, like, did you start to doubt it that you might not ever go back, or
no?
It's going to be harder than what you thought.
It wasn't like doubt. It was like it was this, mentally unhealthy, like, a lot of the people in WA, like there's a lot of suicide and, like,
totally.
Working away. So like I wasn't at the suicide brink, but I would say I was like not far from, not that dark, but I was definitely dark.
You're getting there.
It was struggling to find joy in anything. So it's like, I'm not worrying about acting, I'm worrying about getting through the next day. You know what I mean? Finishing the swing.
So how did you?
Just watching movies, just like I always had that strength within me, you know what I mean? But it's just like really trying to push against that. So that was like kind of my beacon of like.
What about it though? Like created, because I've heard like the same thing. Being in the mines, it can be. I think that's got the highest rate of suicide in that industry. But like from your experiences, why does that come on? Like how does that come on?
Well, I feel for me personally, it was more so that I was so detached. So I'd lived this life that I wouldn't say it's a lie, but it wasn't the real version of me, obviously. It's a protected person, living in a world where you probably might not feel you fit in. Then all of a sudden you go to a world where you can be whoever you want or who you truly are. And then you're accepted for that and you're actually congratulated or, commended for being who you are truly, And then you got to go back to that other place and you can't exactly go back there. Well, you could, but it's just definitely more challenging, you know what I mean? And I wasn't in the place to stay as my authentic self in those places. And I'm not saying I was a fake person, but, you're a little bit harder.
Of course.
You're a little bit more armoured when you're around, all these grown men and, we're doing pretty rough work.
Totally.
So then all of a sudden, I just became numb, and not only is I feel like my dreams are slipping away because I'm not getting any acting work, I'm not getting any credits, or it's like I'm getting auditions but I can't go to them because I'm in WA. It's like, do I lose the job and the cash cow just for this one audition that I don't really know if I'm going to get?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was that kind of
like that juggling.
tear,
Yeah.
But for other people, I know specifically it's the lack of control, and then the control of the money that's there. So it's like, I don't know, my kid's being bad at school or my wife, isn't happy with me and I can't go home and fix that because I'm going to lose all this money that I've got from this job.
Totally.
So it's like, do I risk losing her or do I risk losing the job or do I try and fight through it? You know what I mean? And that can really just keep putting you down, especially if you're away for 28 days.
It's a long time.
It's a challenge, and it's definitely broken a couple of people that I know.
Yeah.
In a really bad way.
It's sad in a way. I'm sure they're putting measures in place to make sure that they minimise that. But it could be something that you do into the future. You could end up getting back there and sharing some stories and become like sharing your journey with these guys and showing. Because I'm sure, like even my journey as a tradie, some of my mates who are relatively young, who are our age, who see like what we're doing and what I'm moved away from that, and they're asking questions like, because they want to do the same thing as well. And it's sort of first for me, I don't want to share. I'm not about sharing, putting myself out there. But I was like, you don't know, like there could be someone else who wants to potentially do what you've done, who take on that acting career and make the move to LA and really push it. So putting yourself out there, like you don't know, you might be that one person who said, you know what, fuck it, Josh did it. He was working in the mines, he was working in the rail, he was doing his 12-hour days in WA, couldn't audition, but still made it happen. You know, so all right, cool. So 3.5 years, get the visa.
Man,
so how long ago was that? What, maybe a year and a half ago?
So I got approved last October.
2017?
2017.
Yeah.
Right, I was in Bali at my best friend's wedding. We got the email. I was like, great,
wow,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing.
What a moment.
It was only like a half approval. So that's approval from the American embassy in America. Like the Americans approved me.
Okay.
But then I got denied here in the Australian consulate just from some ineligibilities.
Okay.
That we ended up rectifying, but I had to keep going back to straighten out these ineligibilities.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting denied 8 times.
Wow.
8 times, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting back there. I know I'm going to be back in LA. Like, it was just, aggressive, direct commitment to this dream. And I just wasn't going to let, like, someone dictate whether or not I could chase my dreams. It's like, you want to deny
8
me?
times.
Cool, I'll come
Love
back.
it.
You know,
Love
15 grand later, 20 grand later, whatever it costs. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make this happen. And then the last time that I went in, the gentleman there, who's just like, wow, like, he's just like, he basically was just like, I don't think this is correct. I don't think they took certain things into, consideration, so I'm going to review this. And I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. That's different. I've never
on the
heard that
8th
before.
time.
On the 8th time. And basically he's like, I'm going to call you, basically a week and we'll talk. So he calls me and he's like, explain these ineligibilities. I'm like, all right, cool. Yep, this is this. And he's like, all right, cool. I'll call you back and you'll have my decision. So basically he calls me back like 2 weeks later. And
how were you feeling in that moment, in those 2 weeks?
I was just like, it doesn't matter if it's yes now, it's going to be yes sometimes.
Correct.
I'll
go a knife time.
You know what I mean? So I'd gone back to a job working 4-on-1. I'd been doing a huge job out in the country. So I was doing that thing again, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to save because I know I'm going back to LA.
Yeah.
And I had this beautiful job where I finally got promoted to like a supervisor role. So I was making some really big money.
Yeah,
in such a short time. But I was just saving. So anyway, so I get the call. He's like, hi Joshua, it's so-and-so from the American consulate here in St. Kilda. We'd like to let you know that we have found no ineligibilities in your case, and we're just going to go ahead and give you your visa. And I'm sorry, what? He's like, we're going to give you your visa. And I was like, okay, yes. Like, I was just so shocked. Like, not shocked, but like it happened. You know what I mean? Like,
it was
real.
real.
Every day, being back in this job where I was away 4 weeks at a time, every day, like, I'll just be writing. I cannot wait to receive that call where I got my visa approved from my lawyer. I cannot wait to be back in LA. Like, I cannot wait to attract a certain group of friends that's going to constantly inspire. Like, all these things that I was writing down. Like, I was writing them down every single day. I'm meditating. I'm writing these things down. I'm visualizing. I'm like, yep. Doing all these things. You hear these great speakers, people that we admire do. I'm like, I've got nothing but time. I'm basically in prison out here. You know what I mean? I'm away 4 weeks at a time. Like, I'm doing my 12-hour days in the sun. I'm going to make this happen. And then when he called me and basically was like, you got the visa, I was like, yes, all right. I'm like,
that's
thank
amazing.
you. Like, I just knew that, like, I was attracting that.
Yeah.
And not giving up on that. And if you looked on paper, statistically, like, realistically, that's like a 99% chance how I got through. I mean, I told you, it took 8 times. You know what I mean? Most of these people were just like cold cut. Like, no. But they didn't, this guy had something inside him. Something that the universe put inside him that made him like, let me just double check this.
Yeah, let me look into it.
And that was the chance, and that's what I feel like I created.
And again, if you didn't go back those 8 times, if you did it once, said, okay, cool, I'll try again, and even if you got quit the 3rd time, and said, cool, well, and that would have still been acceptable. Like, if you said, cool, I tried 3 times to get my visa, I couldn't get it for whatever reasons, people would have said, well, that's fair enough. Like, at least you tried.
100%.
And that's okay, but then you still decided to push on.
Oh, had to.
It was almost like a reward for those efforts. It's like, cool. Again, like you said, the universe was like, okay, cool. Well, you tried once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. Now on the 8th time, luckily this guy happened to be behind the counter or wherever he was and said, let me look into this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
he's just like,
happened,
how long did this process take from the first one to the 8th one? Like, was that the 8th application?
So
was that from that 10-month period?
Yeah. So basically in October we got the yes.
Yep.
So we put the application, got the yes. Like, great. And then from October all the way to, what was it? I think it was April this year. Oh no, it was May. Maybe before that, maybe March.
Okay.
There was 8 times within there. You know what I mean? So I was just like, whatever
In
it
what,
takes,
4 or 5
whatever
months?
it takes, whatever it takes, and then boom, it happened. And
So you went back?
I went back. I just booked. Straight away, I booked the ticket. I'm like, you know what? I'm working a shutdown right now. Let me just keep banking it in, and I'll give myself 4 weeks or something. And basically, you know, I had a partner at the time here in Melbourne, and
Yep.
it absolutely devastated her. Like, she was happy for me, of course, because she knew this from the get-go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and she's just, you know, she knew that I was going. Like, there's nothing gonna keep me
hold
here.
you.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
There's nothing gonna keep me
After
here.
all those setbacks, it was like, there's no way I can. Yeah.
No, and you know, I realized one day, I'm like, you know what? I'm so far into this dream. You know, like, there's no way physically that I don't think I could ever turn back on this. And I was like, that's comfort for me. You know, you're way too far out on the edge. Like, you can't even swim back. You know, it's like, I may as well just keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've gone well past halfway.
And I love that. Yeah, that really made me have, like, that in itself was an achievement. Like, you know, to just swim and swim and swim and swim, and then realize, like, I can't go back that way, man. That's physically impossible. Like, there's nothing in life that's going to take me all the way back to that shore.
Yeah.
And the shore I'm going to is the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I got there, and then I got back to LA, and then boom, all these other things that I said that I was writing out, which is
So how did you feel when you went to LA? Like, obviously the first time, only being 19, 20 years old, who knows what the hell is going to happen. You know, probably the first time out of the country, like you said. This time, what were the differences, like mentally, physically, emotionally? Like, were you in a completely different person? Mm-hmm. Were you, like, what was it that, maybe because all those setbacks really made you feel like you'd, like, really deserved and earned it, and, like, you wanted to get there and really show, like, what you were made of? Like, what was it? What were some of the key differences and some of the learnings you made in that maybe 3 years from the first time to the second one until this year?
I guess one thing I definitely had the awareness of was how I didn't want to live in LA again.
Yeah.
You know, all the things that had happened, or the way that I'd handle certain things, or who I was as a person.
Yeah.
I had 3 years to think about all that, because every day I'm thinking about LA. All day I'm thinking about LA, and I'm just like, well, I don't want that to happen again. I don't want these things to happen. I don't want to be in that position. So I'm like, all right, cool. If I go back, I'm going to make sure I'm around people that always uplift me and inspire me, and that are creative people, that are just amazing people.
Yeah.
That's what I want my friend circle to be.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to live in an amazing apartment. Like, I just, to the T, like, I just had it all mapped out, because I made, I wouldn't say mistakes, but just ways that weren't serving me the first time. And why wouldn't I?
You could look back now and say that, it was a learning curve, and
Absolutely.
Now with your new mindset, it was maybe a mistake. But at the time, you thought that was the right thing to do. That's all you knew.
You know, that's all you can do. You know, all you can do is what you can do in the moment.
Yeah.
And then when you're blessed enough to have a couple of years more, you can look back and be like, all right, cool. I learned from that, and I can implement this now. And I think that's life everywhere.
Totally.
So I was literally able to reconstruct my life just purely by how I lived once into how I wanted to live, or an idea of how I wanted to live the next time. Obviously, you can't get to the T, and it actually turned out more amazing than I had anticipated. But I just knew what I wanted, and I achieved.
And you know what I love about that? Before we get into this last 9 months, is that you didn't just envision and visualize being in LA, because that's an achievement in itself. But you went deeper and said, cool, while I'm there, I want to hang out with these people. While I'm there, I want to live here. While I'm there, I'm going to do this. While I'm there, I'm going to do that. Like, you actually visualize the journey. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is like, they want to, like, now coming up to the end of the year, people are going to set their, New Year's resolutions and set their goals for 2019. They want to make this much money, and they want to drive this car and go on this many holidays and buy this house. But they don't really, like, look at what they need to do to make that happen, or they don't visualize the journey. Because if you can map out that, all of a sudden that journey becomes almost a little bit easier, because you're ready for the speed humps and the hurdles and the roadblocks to come up, and you've already got a solution for that. So you, in a way, you already had some life experience there. So you mapped out, okay, cool, when I get there, I don't want to do that again. And you spent 3 years picturing that in your mind,
100%.
and then you brought it to reality when you went there.
And that's why I say, like, it's like that needed to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like life's basically a lot of plus minuses, and then at the end you get what it all equals out to be. So I just knew what had happened there, and I just knew how I could implement it and change when I did get back there.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of time to think about that, and so when I got back, it was just basically, it's like, all right, I'm here. It's like, cool, shit, now it's real. It's like, all right, all right, now we really got to do this thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just getting the visa wasn't, like, that was amazing and phenomenal and huge. But then it's like all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm in the ring with Ali now. I took a couple of boxing classes. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So
100%.
you get there, and then it's a whole new beast. you know, and I was very lucky to have some great people that I met the first time
Awesome.
that were able to kind of help me out to get me going. And you know, I got a great apartment. You know, I started doing things that I'd never done before. I started putting myself in situations that I'd never experienced, and in all that I just kept learning and growing in such, like, the amount I grew in the 9 months, like it's been the most I've ever grown in my life, you know what I mean? Just being open to that and experiencing that, but then also being aware that I can enjoy it and embrace it and be grateful, like that's, for me, that's everything, you know. And we talk about the details, like the gems are in the details, you know. It's like you can tell me about a movie, but if I don't hear the details and the small minutiae of you know, things that you want to happen, you don't get the full experience.
Totally.
You know what I mean? You just get like one-sided picture rather than the full 3D or the full life experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's been the most amazing, transformative experience of my life.
So the first time you went there, if it all, to say it all went well, do you think you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, would have been, like, just say you landed a great role in a movie the first time you went there, would you have been prepared for that?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, now we can say that because you know.
Of course. I feel, you know, there's, in certain people, if you have certain characteristics, and one of mine happens to be extremely resilient.
Yeah.
You know, coming over adversity, that's basically my whole life's tale this far.
Yeah.
So, like, I think I would have somehow got through it, but I probably wouldn't been able to appreciate it or deliver a product that I would have been happy with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd just be like, oh, I got through that. Hopefully no one noticed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we were talking the other day. Now, for me, it's like, like, the big movies are coming, or the big TV shows are coming, or all these big things that we attract and we desire. Yeah, cool, they're coming, but that's not the work that I'm doing. You know, every day that I'm alive, you know, I'm basically trying to challenge and grow just the things that are happening day to day. Just so when my life dramatically changes, it's like, all right, cool. You know, I'm more anchored. I know who I am.
Yeah.
I can't be stretched in directions that I don't want to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to be the man that I want to be in the place that I've created. And that's what it's all about for me. So it's like when life does dramatically change, it's like, all right, cool, let's do it. You know, I know who I am. So it doesn't matter where we're going. It's like, I know who I am. I know where I'm going to be sitting. I know how I'm going to be reacting. Yeah. You know, obviously there's certain things you can't control, but one thing I know that I can control now is the direction I put my mind in.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything else, whatever happens, it doesn't matter, because my mind is going to be where I want it to be, and that's going to be positive, and it's going to be open and ready to go. So, like, if things turn dark, my mind's ready. Whatever you need, I'm going to overcome. And just going through all these adversities the last 3-4 years, or the last 25 years, you want to say. Yeah. It's like, I know I've got all these tools. It's like, let's get at it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what's going to happen.
And if you don't have a tool for the situation, it might be a whole new beast that hits you. Because you've gone through so much adversity, you'll learn how to adapt to that.
100%.
And take that on board. Like, well, I've never experienced this before. This is a new one. I haven't had this challenge or this problem or this, whatever it might be. Cool. Well, I've done it 25,000 times already. I can do it again for this one.
100%. And that's why I think if you're blessed enough to have adversities early on, I feel like you've got great tools. I'm not saying that everyone else can't have these tools. It's like, well, you're just not going to get them yet.
Yeah.
You know, and there's going to be adversities that I'm not going to be ready for still to come at me, but I need that. Yeah. Otherwise, I can't get to that next level.
That's how you grow. That's where growth is. When you're getting challenged and pushed back.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you only really learn that when you go through it, and then you get through on the other side, and then you do look back and say, "Wow, well, look what that just taught me." That whole 6 months, 12 months, 1 week journey, like where that shit period happened. Look what that just taught me, and that's something that you take and keep forever. Yeah. You know, you've got that forever.
That's all. And one thing that I'm very grateful for is the mindset and all the mental work and spiritual work that you can do every single day, sure. But now when I come up against things, I just have an innate little voice in my head. I'm like, all right, what are we meant to be learning here? It's not. It doesn't go straight into the emotional brain anymore. It goes straight into, you know, the logical and just open mind. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how.
And that's obviously come from you creating that. Like, that obviously wasn't the way it always was. Was there anything in particular that you can look back on and say, well, cool, well, this helped me think that way?
Absolutely. A couple of friends that I attracted into my life again really just took me on a journey that I hadn't been on before. Like, I knew some things about, you know, meditation and spirituality and stuff like this, But just by being with these people and seeing these people, overcome just as much adversity as me, if not more, and then seeing how they kind of looked at things and how they reacted, and then seeing how they were able to alchemize or overcome or even rise above the situation just by like, okay, cool, whatever's going to happen, cool, because I know I'm good. I'm good. Like,
where does that come from though? What makes you, first thing, like something, you get a text message, an email, a phone call, someone says something to your face in a meeting or whatever it might be that isn't what you wanted to hear. How is that now your first response?
I think by realizing how much control I was trying to have on things. I feel like for me, the main things that have changed that make me look at life a lot differently, whether it's a positive situation or a challenging situation, is I don't control as much, I judge less, and I have more compassion. Those three things, like me, I was very judgmental.
Less controlling, be less controlling, judge less.
Not less controlling, just understanding you have no control.
Correct. Of certain things.
It's like, why am I worrying about that? Or why am I trying to change this?
Yeah.
That's just like grabbing a ton of bricks and like, here, get on my back. It's like, I don't even need to do that. I don't even actually need to worry about that. Yeah. Like, that's not even a factor in my life right now. Like, and I'm going over there trying to get this bag of bricks and chuck it on my back. Like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't need that. It doesn't matter. So like letting go of control, like, all right, cool. Like, I literally have no control over what's happening here except for what direction my mind is going in. Of course. So it's like, it doesn't matter what's coming against me or what's coming to me or trying to come through me. As long as my mind is good and that's the only thing I have control over, I'm going to be fine. And like, that was huge for me. It's like, all right, cool. All right, I'm getting knocked back or no auditions or all these auditions or, whatever.
When we were chatting the other day, you said you did 50 or something in that period of time?
In 9 months, yeah.
And that's like some crazy...
That, I don't know any other actor in LA that's done that. I've been very blessed, especially now with the market. It's really pushed for open diversity or ethnically ambiguous people. And I'm so happy that it's moving in that direction. It's not so cookie cutter. Got to look like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt type of thing. You can be the De Niro looking guy or whoever.
Correct.
Asian or it doesn't matter. So now they're open to all these ethnicities, and basically there's just been so many projects and great roles for open ethnicity, which I am. I look, you can't really tell what I am. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So like I've just been going in for a lot of big projects and amazing roles and getting very, very close, and then just missing out or just not being right for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
you said you did like 14 in 14 days.
Yeah, I had this really big push at like the end of August or the start of September, and some huge opportunities came my way, and I did really well, and I got pretty far with some. Didn't end up working out in the way that I guess I would want it, but now I realize like I just came to that level to experience that level, so the next time I'm in that position, I can even go even higher because I've got I've got all that information from the previous time.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's, I'm loading up the bullets. It's like, all right, cool, I made it to the battle station. Shit, I forgot the bullets. Like, all right, maybe I can fake my way through here. It's like, oh, this guy's got the right stuff. I don't think he's a killer yet though. There's something not quite there, and then all of a sudden you come back with the bullets. Like this is the motherfucker that we want.
Yeah, correct.
You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of see it. I'm like, oh, cool. Everything that happens, I'm like, there's information there that I'm gonna take and it's gonna land somewhere in the future with me. Yeah. And I absolutely appreciate.
So in that period of time of 9 months, how many auditions would any other actor? I don't want to say average, but just say like a guy who's sort of maybe chasing his dreams, or female. Right. How much would they potentially do?
I would say on average, if you're in that, say you're in the open ethnic class, right? You're ethnically ambiguous. I would say you might get 1 a week. Okay. That might be just the standard or average. It might be even half that or something. But say 1 a week. If you're getting 1 a week, you're doing pretty happy actor. You know what I mean?
So you're getting 1 a week over the 9 months.
Over the 9 months. Yeah. So whatever that is. Yeah. 36 or something. Yeah. But the fact so I've got all these friends who are pretty established actors, and like very high up in the level that they're at, much higher than where I am. And like I'm getting 3, 4. Like I would say I would average 3 a week. And fortunately for me, I don't really go for, I don't go for the guy that doesn't get the girl. I don't go for the little dweeb or the nerdy kind of guy, I'm always going for lead roles. Yeah.
Yeah.
and grateful for that. I got great management,
Yeah.
both here and in LA. And yeah, man, we put so many seeds in the ground in that 9 months. It's like, all right, cool. Like, and I told you my first audition, I went there and I just bombed out.
That's what you told me, yeah.
I never auditioned in the room before.
Yeah.
And you're in LA, and then all of a sudden you're in this studio and they're making $1 million movies every couple of weeks. You're like, shit, like, where am I? It's like, all right, this
Diaz
is the next,
yeah.
this is the next level,
Yeah.
and you're in there, and I just remember dropping all the lines. I'm like, all right, cool, that's a learning experience.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool.
Well, now,
next,
after 50 under your belt, you're just like, whatever.
Oh, like after 20, it's like, let's go in and handle, let's do my thing.
business. Yeah.
There's a couple times there, I'm like, you know what, you learn who you are as an artist, you know what I mean? And I remember this one audition I had, it was for like a gang member, which I got a lot of that kind of stuff. And they had him talking like a dentist. Like the way this gang member who'd been in prison his whole life was speaking from like a Mexican hood, saying words like perseverance and preponderance and stuff like this. Like that ain't, that's not your stereotypical gang member. Like I'm like, I don't know who. Like just had him.
Who's a writer?
Like a highly educated Harvard graduate or something. Like this guy never been to school before. And I remember I had like a moment with the casting director, and they're like, "What are you reading? What are these lines?" I'm like, "Oh, I changed it a bit because there's no way this guy would speak like this. I know people like this, and they don't speak like this." And they kind of looked at it as like, good for you, but like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, you can't just go and change a writer's words. That's like a big disrespect, depending on the writer, obviously.
Of course.
So, but I was like, you know what? I'm making a stand here. Like for me as a person, I'm not going to go and just make this because you're saying I have to make it. It's like, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be real, it's going to be authentic.
Yeah.
And that's the type of actor that I want to be.
Yeah,
the type of person that I want to be.
But that comes back to what you said before as well. It's not like acting. It's like if you're in it, you're in it. Like you can't. That's definitely acting.
Those
if you're trying to
be
a gangster, if you're trying to be a gangster talking like a dentist, then that becomes acting. Because you have to actually think about speaking properly. But if you want to play the role and like be in it, like I'm a gangster right now. You can't. Like you're going to talk like
I mean, unless the scenario says it, like
of course,
he came from the street, went to be a dentist. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
If you've written in the character description, being in prison since he was 11 years old, never went to school.
Well, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like, what do you?
He's probably got minimal education.
What are you trying to prove here?
Yeah, his vocabulary would be too.
This isn't real.
Correct.
But
what was your favorite audition?
Favorite audition
out of the
so they're remaking this show from the 90s called The Party of Five.
Okay.
Huge show, and basically it's about the immigration that's going on in America right now.
Yeah.
Not sure if you guys are familiar, but basically they're snatching away kids that were illegal from Mexico. They gave it Barack Obama's program, or his administration gave out what's called the DACA, right? And these are kids that have come over the border as kids, but their parents are illegal, but they've come in, so they're like, you know what, if you identify yourself as an illegal, we'll give you a working visa and a permanent residency.
Okay.
Right, so there was like 800,000 of these.
Wow.
Central American, South American, and then Mexican, obviously, that came. And then all of a sudden, when Trump's administration came in, they closed the DACA program. So then all of a sudden, you had like 800,000 plus people fear that they're going to get deported any day. You know what I mean? So then, and the kids were getting taken away from the parents and basically putting into these little cells. And they had a girl die from Guatemala the other day in one of the prison cells because they didn't give her any water for 8 hours and she had like 107-degree fever. They're just mistreating all these people. So this was all based on that kind of thing. The Party of Five it was a Latino thing, and I was going for the oldest brother, who's an actor, he's a musician actually, and basically he's trying to chase his dreams, and then his parents basically own this restaurant and they get deported, they get taken away, and the oldest kid, he is a DACA kid, so he doesn't know if he's going to get deported himself, but all the other younger siblings were born in America, so they were good.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So basically, they're visiting the parents. He's like, do I give up my dream to take care of the family because I'm the oldest? So there's all that kind of influence, and it was an amazing role, and I got really, really far with it. I think I made
you connected
top 3. Absolutely, it was heartbreaking. You know what I mean? You're reading the script and you're crying because you're saying goodbye to your dad and realize it's the last time I'm ever going to see him. Because if I cross the border, I'll never get back into America.
Yeah.
Kind of that level of thing is like that's too much. Like that's wow, what a role. What you can do for that. Like how many millions and millions of refugees or people seeking asylum in the world are you going to represent playing this role? You know what I mean? Like, and that for me was like everything. I was like, absolutely, I would love to play this. So like I remember I went in for it and they really liked me. So I went back in for producers. They really liked me, and then I think I went back in for a studio session, and did it. I felt like it was a great audition. and basically
Is the audition the same every 3 times?
It depends. Sometimes they give you a new scene, or they'll
Okay.
just keep giving you the same scenes.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
usually it's kind of the same scenes. They might add one or something like
Okay,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But you know, so you know, I was in Sony Pictures, the studio down in LA there, and went into top floor, and there's like 6 people in the room. And you go in, and I was like, you know what? I've made it this far. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Let me just go in here and just beat me. Like that's all I can do.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I have control over.
Yeah.
And I did that, and they actually went with a more. You know, obviously I'm Australian, Hispanic, or Colombian Spanish, but they went with an actual Mexican kid.
Okay.
Which he might have been even the better actor. You just don't know.
You don't know now. Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't be attached
until we see
to
the movie
these
come
things.
out.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't be attached to it either.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the most connected I felt to it.
Yeah,
I mean, I auditioned for a Vin Diesel movie, and like he's always been an idol of mine since a kid.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'd love to do that.
That'd be sick.
Bad Boys 3 and stuff like
that would have been cool.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. But again, like you said, you've planted seeds for 9 months all over in LA.
Yeah.
Like 2019 is going to be huge. You know, and if it's not those particular roles, like you've met how many people, or how many producers, how many writers, how many casting agencies, you know. And again, if someone does that, you know, like you said, in that period of time, someone might have done 30 to 35 auditions. You've done 50.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I feel it comes into a lot of things, because I don't want, not to bring it to race or anything, but it's kind of a little bit a factor here. I got a lot of friends who are white American actors, and they're not auditioning really at all. There's not really that many roles for the white actors right now, or the Caucasian actors you want to say.
Yeah.
Just because it's so diverse, they're trying to really include, because there's been so much diversion or exclusion in the past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you'll even out slowly or whatever, but
it's just what it is now.
It's just what it is.
So it was like this. It was almost like it was a great time. Like you took 3.5 years to get your visa. You finally got it. You got there, and then all of a sudden, there's an opportunity to smash out 50 auditions.
Would I have got that many auditions back 3 years ago? Maybe not. You know what I mean? I definitely would have got a lot, but definitely maybe not that much. You just don't know. But the market is definitely moving in the direction where I'm going to align with what they want.
So what's the vision for 2019? You're going back? You're going to hang out there longer?
I'm going to go there, establish myself on a show or a film.
Yeah.
And just work full-time as an actor.
Yeah.
That's literally the goal, and I don't see that being too much of a challenge, you know what I mean? Like with the mindset and just how much I'm willing to grind. And I see it pretty clear, you know what I mean? Like going back the last 9 months, like, all right, what did I learn? And then it's like, I really know what the business is about now, like to the level that I'm at. You know what I mean? So like now it's like, cool, audition, 3-4 auditions a week, no problem. Let's handle that. How do I get to the next stage when they bring me back in? How do I feel about that? How do I handle that situation? How do I feel to the next, you know what I mean? I've experienced all those, the top 2, top 3 kind of guys. Like I know what those feelings feel like. Yeah. So now when I go back in again, it's like, all right, cool, this is just another day, let's do it. Boom, boom, boom. And then eventually, it's just how life is.
It was very similar to the visa story. Again, like it took so many times, and you had to get used to that backlash and that knockback, and then go back again, and go back again. And then when you finally got the call, you were like, oh, what? Like, I'm in? Like, I've got it? Yeah. And that'll probably be a very similar situation to when you actually get the call to say, hey, Josh, you've got the role.
Well, that's what happened to me the other day with
spot on.
That movie that I just booked. Like I knew that I was a great chance at it. Like I had the meeting with the director, but that there was like 2 weeks in between, and of course your mind, wants to turn dark on you. Of course, usually, the doubt and stuff. So they're all coming up. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to attach. I'm not going to attach. I'm meditating. I'm visualizing it. Yeah. And I know it can happen. Absolutely. Why couldn't it happen? Yeah. That's how I live. Why not? Like, absolutely can happen. I choose that. And then, so when I got the calls, I kind of knew when he called me. I was like, all right, yes, like this is. I'm believing that this is the call. Why would I not? Why would I do that to myself? Why would I put up a dream and shoot it down every chance I get? So he called me and he's like, all right, cool. I'm going to give you the short version, I'll get straight to it. And he always does this to me. And I was like, all right, cool. And he's like, well, they auditioned all these actors all over the world. And basically they want to go with you. And I was like, I just froze. Like I didn't even have control of I just, not let I froze in disbelief, but just like the mind didn't know which direction to go in, almost. It's like it was trying to shoot it down, but then it's like, you can't shoot it down, you got it, motherfucker. Like, it's just like the delay was a little bit like, I'm like, oh, So I got it. And he's like, yeah, you got it. I was like, oh man, that's great. Oh wow. And and that in itself is an experience. So then, going forward, I will use those feelings and that memory to create again.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like
You've done it once, you can do it again.
100%.
It's very similar to what you just said there. One of the questions I have is like, has there ever been a moment to date where you said, shit, like, this is real now? Like, this is like what I'm going to do. Like, this is it.
I'm
not saying that you've made it. I'm not saying cool, I've made it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like, was there a moment where you said, cool, like, I've committed? Like, almost like you said before, like, I've swam this far.
Too far, yeah.
I'm not going to go back to not being and chasing that dream.
I remember,
in your eyes, you see a moment where it's like, yeah.
I had a pretty reputable teacher, his Academy Award, Golden Globe, Emmy winning teacher. This guy taught a lot of very famous actors.
Yeah.
Brando, De Niro, Mark Ruffalo, Kevin Bacon, like some pretty big people, Ryan Gosling. And he's very respected, and he I guess he respected me because of my ability to just keep persevering and just not know what I'm doing, but keep falling on my face, and like just that attitude of just unrelenting. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. And we had a conversation. We went and seen the LA Philharmonic, the opera, and we're sitting there, and we're walking back to Hollywood Boulevard, and kind of looking at this, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I think people don't realize how much they want their dream because they don't put it into a big enough perspective and then accept those costs. And I was like, if you say, oh, I'll give this 5 years, and then give up at 5 years if it doesn't happen, I'm like, you don't really want it. It's 5 years. All right, that's not really that much. I'm like, how bad do I want this? Am I willing to give 50 years to this dream? And I might not be making it in that 50 years. I might be, you don't even know, but I'm like, am I willing to keep at this for 50 years? Like, really? Like, ask yourself deeply in your soul, what's the first thing that comes? I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely, I am. 50 years, I'll give this, And that was the first time I was in LA, and I was like, all right, cool. So that always drove me. And then just having friends, get some success, my age, and I'm like, all right, cool, it's possible. It's like, all right, yes. And then you start to attract little pieces. You get a couple of independent films, and you get a couple of episodes on Neighbours, and it's like, and things just start to slowly but surely happen. And one thing, obviously, for me, I always kind of neglected the fact is like I'm ticking these boxes that I put up on the board for myself, but not looking back and like, oh, I did that. But then, a year and a half, 2 years later, or 3 years later, you're like, oh my God, I literally have done everything that I set out that I was trying to do. Yeah. And I remember I found when I was back in LA, I had this planner back in 2011. I remember the date, and I did a timeline. I was like, all right, get a job in the mines, get a visa, get a passport, move to LA, blah, 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 like all these things. And then boom, I smashed all that, but didn't look back at it. And then I came back to the mines that first time, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, I did that. And then I read another one, 2015 or whatever it was, boom, boom, all these things, go back, get a movie, Neighbours, whatever. And then I was in my apartment this year, like 5 months ago, and I was like completely broke, like no cat, like dried up, no money, just like living on credit cards. And
this is in LA.
And I'm looking, and rent's due soon. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I open this book up, and I just find this loose bit of paper, and I look at it, man, and I'm like, holy shit, I did it again. I literally looked at it, and I'm like, wow, I achieved literally all this, and now even so much more. And that for me was like a huge like kiss from the universe, like seeing that and this being present and being able to appreciate those feelings of like actual achievement, accomplishment.
Definitely.
Like I love that. I was like, oh man. And then that gives you a fuel, and then all of a sudden, life just starts opening back up for you. You know what I mean? Like you think it's closed, but it's like, no, you're the one who's closed right now.
Yeah,
you need to open yourself back up.
Totally.
And then I feel like those little gifts is your subconscious leaving them for you in the times of need.
Yeah. Do you, obviously a lot of people like want to get into acting and music and film and play and whatever it might be. What separates you though to chasing that dream? Like why you, like what is different, special? How are you wired to continue to want to do it? Like every second person you probably speak to, it's even one day, I think I considered one day in one period of time like wanting to chase that dream of being an actor or entertaining, because I love that. I've gone another direction now. I never did it. But you tried it, didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out the first time you went. What's special about you to want to get out of working on the rails and doing that to wanting to continue chasing and get into, even if it wasn't acting, even if it was something else, even if it was a sport, even if it was whatever it was, and said, no, this is what I want to do. Like, why? How? Like, what is it about you? Like, what are those traits? What is that thing about you?
I mean, for me, I feel like even, you know, the circumstances that I've come from, like, I always knew that there was, like, I always, that inner feeling of something great, that greatness within myself. Like, I always knew it there. I couldn't put my finger on, like, what is it? But it's undeniable to me. There's something great within me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just the
is
way...
it from a younger age? Or when you...
I think it was just, like, always getting through and surviving the things that I survived, and then, like, getting a bit older and, like, I don't know, there's something... I got so much in here. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to... there's something there. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? And the older and older I got, then, it's you know, it's kind of gone to the entertainment, you know, direction, mainly acting. But I guess what would separate me, I mean, I believe in myself immensely, but also I'm still going to be rocking up 50 years later.
Yeah.
Where other people, 2 years, they're going to pack it up, or, you know, 10 years, they might pack it up. You know, you don't know. All I'm worrying about is rocking up the next day.
Correct.
And that's what I know I'll continue to do. So whether that separates me or not, I mean, that's...
But what is it about you that's, like, made you go back and, like, keep going and spend 9 months there, then come back to Australia and then go again next year and, you know, spend 3.5 years here envisioning what you wanted, mapping it out, getting knocked back 7 times, and then finally on the 8th time getting the visa? What is it about you? I just can't live with the fact that I gave up on something that I truly was in love with and that I care about. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, cool. If I really tried for 50 years, you know, and I don't make it or whatever, I don't see that happening. But it's like, at least I tried. You know what I mean? I have to at least give it I have to empty out first before I can say, all right, I really have nothing else to give. Has there been a time not in acting or it could be in acting where you have quit on a situation? But it could be sport, could be work, could be life.
I mean...
Where you just said, no, fuck it, I'm out.
No, I don't think it's quitting. I think it's more like, this isn't really serving me in a way that I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you know, am I playing footy because I'm trying to make the AFL? Am I loving it? Or am I just doing it because it's something to do? Am I really enjoying it? Is it teaching me anything? You know what I mean? Am I working for this boss and him being disrespectful, or, you know, doing this job that I hate?
Yeah.
Is me saying, no, I'm not going to do that to myself, quitting? I don't think it is. I think it's just me putting myself forward and be like, you know what, I'm going to look after me.
Has there been a moment though where you've quit on yourself? On anything?
I'm sure there has, but I don't know if it's quitting. I think it might be like throwing in the towel, but not not fully relenting to a situation. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it's just... Yeah, no, like coming from, like I said, the background, like it just wasn't a situation where you could quit. You just need to keep moving forward. Yeah. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like
there's
I
always
very
a
much feel like there's always, you know, I had to always find solutions.
Yeah.
So like quitting, there wasn't really that option.
Yeah.
In life. So like it's like, all right, if I can't do it this way, how am I going to do it? So it's always been like that, you know, because when you got no one else to lean on, you got to, you know, have that resilience, and you got to have that mindset. It's like, this is horrible, or this is absolutely agonizing or excruciating. But I'll find a way out because I have so many other times. You know what I mean? And so I don't think I've ever quit on myself. Maybe in the gym, you know, like I've cheated on a rep or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Like I haven't completed a book or something like that. But those are now things that I'm implementing in my life.
Correct.
That I'm like, all right, I'm
like, so in that situation of, like, just say for a gym session, right, or a training session, have you ever, maybe not so much quit, but known that you haven't given it 100%?
Oh, in the gym for sure. Like for me, because I've been such a naturally gifted athlete, you know, I've always been very muscular, very strong. Like those things I never really had to work hard for. So even me working at 75% is still me outworking the guy next to me.
Correct.
I'm going to get more results than him. Yeah. But now that I'm realizing it's not a race between me and him, it's just me versus me. So now I'm 100%. Always trying to empty right out before I'm like, all right, I'm good.
And you get... I wouldn't say we don't really care about if people judge us or not, but do people comment? Because again, sometimes for you it happens so much naturally, and so much more naturally, and so much easier. When you do go 100%, that makes other people look like shit in a way. Do they give you and you're not doing it for that reason. You're purposely in your mindset, I'm giving 100%, but your 100% to some people could be like their 5,000%.
Right.
You know, do you cop slack for that? Like when you walk into an audition and you're like, I'm gonna own this shit, and like you walk, because you naturally walk with that presence. Like I've told you this forever. Like you walk around and it's just like, who is that? Like he's a man of some power, but you just naturally condone that by the way you move. When you do give 100%, does that come with backlash from others? Even though it may not affect you, but do you cop some sort of hate, backlash, whatever it might be?
Well, in acting, it's not really it's not like the like a footy field or a footy or any sort of sporting environment. You know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, the people in the waiting room don't know what you did. In there, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
unless
true.
you get the job.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he booked it. You know what I mean? So it's like you go in and there's a stereotypical type of 3 or 4 types of guys. There's the guy with the headphones in, in his little world. There's the guy trying to be all zen and meditating. There's the guy going over his lines, and then there's the guy walking around, and then there's me where I'm just sitting there and I'm kind of looking at everyone, just taking the room in and just appreciating the experience. That's what I really go in mindset wise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think you call backlash. That's one thing I definitely like about Americans, which is very dissimilar to Australia. Is like you're telling someone you're trying to achieve something, their first kind of reaction, if they're a half decent person, is, oh man, that's awesome. Like keep going. Like it's always
positive.
Like positive first. You kind of tell people
like reinforcing.
Here, it's here in Australia that they're more likely to chop you down than the tall poppy syndrome or whatever.
Totally.
But not so much backlash. My friends, I'm like, if they see me like kind of cheating myself a little bit, or like not running my lines as much, like they're like,
they'll call you out.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you came all this way, like, and
you want to run,
You know what I mean? So that's and I created that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I attracted those things into my life, those people.
Yeah.
So no, I don't really cop backlash. I mean, anything physical. I mean, things that I do physical now are directly linked to mentality and spirituality. I do a lot of martial arts, so like.
That was my next question. Like, what do you do for training?
That's one thing where I'm like, if I go into a gym, if I go into like say a weights gym, I'm not gonna be the smallest guy. I'm probably gonna look relatively great. It doesn't matter if I train or not. So that's naturally a breeding ground for ego.
Totally.
But like when you go into a martial arts gym, whether it's Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, or whatever it is, you can go in there. The littlest guy in there could be beating everyone up, and he probably won't even say anything about it. And that's what I absolutely love. I'm like, if there's any opportunity where I can really diffuse that ego and live in that place where ego is not real, so like completely be humble and just experience and learn, I'm like all about it, because naturally, just by sports and life, I've always kind of been in that ego place because I've just kind of naturally been really good at nearly most things that I do. You know what I mean?
Again, naturally just gifted. It just happened for you.
So it's like I didn't really have to work for it. So there wasn't that appreciation. It was like, I can do this. It's fine, whatever. But martial arts. It's I've been very grateful to be at a really amazing school, and I've got amazing coaches, and just constantly humbling myself and learning and just putting into practice that kind of mindset. It's like, cool, I know nothing. And that's Socrates, It's like, I die a man who knows nothing.
Definitely.
And it's fine like that.
Totally.
So the more I come at peace with not, realizing that I don't know as much as I might think I do, so I can be open to learning as much as I can.
Totally.
That's where I want to
be. You're going to continue growing and evolving that way as well.
100%.
If you start every day almost like a blank canvas and to be open to the possibilities. And it was something you said before as well, where it's you learned something. It was like when you said you learned from the first time being in LA that's not how you wanted to live. Did that in a way, like, see, for me, I look at every situation as some sort of inspiration, because I always say, like, to like all the people that I work with, I tell them, look, you don't even know who you're going to be inspiring, so you always need to be great, because we could be walking down the street saying, now we're going to get a coffee, we walk down the street and someone's wearing like a mad jacket or nice shoes like that. I like the way he's got his outfit set up. He doesn't even really realise that we're inspired by the way he's conducting himself and the way he's gone about dressing himself for that day.
Right.
On many different levels. Do you find yourself now being that little bit more experienced in LA, being there a couple of times, that people are coming to you asking for feedback? And do you find also that, by hanging out with that better group of people maybe compared to the first time and having a totally different experience has helped you to gain better results and be a better person in general?
100%. I like to think that I'm open for inspiration as much as possible.
Yeah.
No matter where it comes from. And if any time I'm in a place mentally where I'm have some resistance to someone, I don't go to them first. I'm like, what is it about them that's affecting me that I don't like? Because it's probably something inside myself that I don't really like. And then I kind of address it that way. Then I'm like, all right, cool. I try and open myself back up to a situation.
Yeah.
But definitely having friends who are, really working on some really big things and that are constantly working. They're a few years ahead of me, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
And watching them and then getting knowledge from them.
Yeah.
I like to think that we're all like mirrors, so we see each other and we see the same kind of issues and we're watching how each of us kind of deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that it happens to be a kind of universal way of dealing with things. As long as you're open and you're keeping your head straight, positive things always come out of it.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And say if a negative thing does happen, it's like, well, the positive's probably going to be even bigger.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Spot
So
on.
it's like when you take that even bigger forward, it's like, all right, how high am I going up to this?
Yeah.
So cool, let's all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm tucked in. Let's handle what we need to handle.
I love when you look at the waves. I always look at those downs. It's just momentum to get the up.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, I'm having a down, but I'm building up speed. I'm going down hard, but I'm going to straight back up. And you look at those waves of success or whatever it might be, and it's all just that moment. Life in general, it's just a waves, and it eventually slowly goes higher and higher, and it all just comes together. To finish on, has there been one thing, whether it's in acting, from the mines, from leaving home when you were 14, has there been any one person or any one thing that you've heard, someone's told you, you've read, you've seen, that's just stuck with you, and it's sort of like one thing in your head that you always think about? Maybe it could be a mantra, it could be a saying, it could be a quote, it could be a way of living. Is there anything that you always sort of like just go back to and it's just in your head?
Don't go back to. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have many things now, but I think the most important thing is run your own race, and just by understanding that, I think it takes away judgment. I think it takes away ego. I think it takes away expectation and attachment to things. So, it's as long as you're running your own race and you, because we know when we're given 100%.
Yeah.
And if you're truthful and honest in that, and you're doing the best that you can do in whatever field or whatever situation, and then you finish that situation and you're honest and you're empty, you've ran your own race. Now, if you happen to finish ahead of other people, great. But realistically, you're always going to finish first in your mind if you've given everything you've got. I feel that's the truth. So, I was really living in places of comparing myself to this friend, or trying to outdo this person, or trying to be the hardest worker in the room. Like The Rock says. But I'm like, let me be the hardest worker in my mind.
Yeah.
And finish my race empty. As long as I'm finishing empty, I can't actually do any better than that.
You're correct.
You know what I mean? So realistically, as long as I'm finishing on empty and I've just pushed and pushed and pushed, I'm doing the best.
That's what you said before about that losing control, in a way of you give everything, and whatever else happens after that, you don't have control of that.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got control of you going from 0 to 100 and giving 100%, then
I feel that's what the peace is.
Yeah.
The joy. You know what I mean? All these great things that we want, I feel like they live in that realm of peace and joy and happiness. And a great friend of mine, she told me that. And it's like, you can read all these books and you can listen to these audios and you can watch these videos on YouTube and all this motivation stuff and do all this self-development. And great, you have the saying in your head. But when you actually live it and have that life experience of it, you really then kind of own part of that.
Yeah.
You own that part in you. So for me, understanding that I don't have really any control besides what's going on in my own brain, that gave me immense amount of peace.
Yeah.
Allowed me to be free, allowed me to be joyful. And then from that place, just be able to create and just be able to be open to inspiration. Be empty of all the things that are stopping me to be the best version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that, for me, that was
dropping all that extra baggage and extra weight of
just the stuff that's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Putting
All that
value on
bullshit
things
putting
that's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Everything, man.
Yeah, love that. I think, for, like I said earlier, what is it that separates you to want to go? But then to actually go there and make it work, especially after going the first time. And again, like we said, if it did happen the first time going there, maybe you personally wouldn't have been ready. So I think the second time, as we know, everything happens for a reason. So you're there, you're chasing, and now you're going back for another stint of time in 2019, which is looking like it's going to really flourish, and all these seeds are going to turn to plants, and they're going to give you so many opportunities to really put yourself out there. For any other inspiring actors, any other, wouldn't even have to be acting in general, but people that wanted to follow something else and step out of, like you were working full time on the rails and said, no, I want to do acting. Someone like myself as a tradie carpenter for 11 years said, no, I want to get into business. Or what's your, if there was someone listening that's a corporate worker and wants to get into acting, or someone that wants to get into play a professional sport, like what is it that you would tell them? Like what would be your piece or one thing to, not so much motivate them, because I've listened to David Goggins, we know motivation's bullshit, but what would you help them to maybe activate them, say, you know what, cool, I listened to what Josh said and that was me, or I really resonated, I'm going to do it, I'm going to make that phone call, I'm going to write that email, I'm going to take that first step.
Since coming back, I had a couple of people actually that I grew up with reach out that wanted to be an actor and or just trying to be more positive in their life. I mean, the things that I try and implement every single day, it's not to be the best actor, it's to be the best human being or the best man that I can be. Because I know if I'm that, then the acting will be fine, because I have nothing holding me back. I have nothing that I'm stressing about or worrying about. I can be completely present in any moment. And so if anything, for anyone, like I told this young kid, basically I was just like, realistically, I asked him, like, why do you want to be an actor? Or why do you want to do this? Or why are you doing this? Like, why? As we know, the power of why. And like, he really couldn't give me, a real honest answer, And I was like, you don't know who you are, man. You don't know who you are. You haven't tested yourself. You're all surface right now. Like, I don't mean that in an offensive way, but that's just the reality from what I'm seeing. And like, I'm not sitting here saying I know who I am, but I'm constantly figuring it out. And I'm making that journey. So I know I'm this type of person already, and that's subject to change. But right now I know I'm this and this and this because I've tested in these places.
Correct.
So like for him, I was like, you need to test yourself. You need to figure out who you really are. What do you really stand for in life? What are you really willing to work for? How hard are you really willing to give a dream or work for a kid, your kid or yourself? Like, how much do you love yourself? Like, really, like, break that down and think about, how do I treat myself? Or, finding out who you really are to the depth. I think that's the key to anything. And once you kind of figure out a large part or even a small part, at least you've got somewhere to stand. Because if you
How did you do that though? How did you go through that journey of finding who Josh is, what his values are, what he stands for, what it means to him,
firstly,
why he wants to act?
Living through life, you take bumps and whatnot here and there, so you kind of have experiences and you're like, all right, that's that, I'm going to put that over there for now. But having the awareness and then reflect, because obviously you're aiming for something on such a high level or such a difficult task or goal.
Yep.
So then I feel like I'm getting in all these different boxing rings with myself, and then I'm getting put in these different situations, and I look back and I'm like, all right, well, I overcame that. Why did I overcome that?
Yeah.
Or how did I overcome that?
Yeah.
And then boom, I've got a little chess piece on the board, and then all of a sudden you got this army. I'm like, this is what my army stands for. Or this is who I stand for. This is what I'm fighting for. Yeah. This is how hard I'm willing to go for something.
So you could never have done that if you never actually put yourself out there, though.
No way. You need to take that foot. Like when I was first realized, like from the moment that I'm like, all right, why can't I be an actor? That light bulb moment, and literally like a light bulb.
On that hour drive,
That hour drive, I drove home. I reached out to an acting school, and then I'm like, all right, it's $800 for 8 weeks. I'm like, all right, I don't like, cool. I'll just pay for the first 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I'm just like, boom, throwing myself completely in there. Like,
a bit naive at the same time.
Young, naive, nothing, but it's like, all right, I've got that young energy or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be young, but that's what it was at my experience. And just jumped in, and all of a sudden, I was in the mines, and like just life just all of a sudden just put me in all these situations where I was able to get closer and closer and closer to these dreams. And I feel like that's the most important thing. It's like you need to make that decision, and if it's a true decision within you and you really believe in it and you believe in yourself, then you have to attack it. In the most
I think being a little bit naive
possible.
is
absolutely
so important, because
I think you're going to be naive no matter what. Because at the end of the day, you don't really know what's going to happen behind those doors. So it's like, you can try and be naive. It's like, no, man.
And if you're not being naive, you're almost overthinking it.
Yeah, well, you're just not putting enough value on it.
Correct. And at the same, like you said, would you say you learn more from being in it and like actually going through it?
I think you have to be in it to learn it.
Correct. And that's what I see a lot of people go wrong.
Reflection is where I think you know, you were able to really get the 3D version of it.
Yeah.
It's like I got the PDF from being in it, but like getting out of it and overcoming it and then looking back and then being able to look back and then explain it to someone else.
Yeah.
So they understand the teaching part of it. Or,
That's when you really learn.
Then you're like, all right, I really understand what this means now.
Yeah.
And that's time. You know, that's time.
That's the experience. Because people try and plan it out. It's like, I'm going to learn on the go, but you're not even on the go. Like, you're on the bench watching the game. Like, you learn so much by playing footy. Like, we both play footy. Like, by actually playing.
100%.
Like, you can watch as many videos as you want. Like, you can watch as much playback as you want. Like, you can watch as much AFL on TV, but you don't learn as much as you actually like in it.
Well, we say in acting, it's like the learning is in the doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like, you can read all the plays you want, recite all the movies you want, but if you're not actually doing it, you have no
same as your
experience.
script, like that first one, you drop the lines, right? You forgot them. You probably, how many times did you read them prior though?
Oh, like I had them down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like, but now you might read them, like you might have to read that line once and you've got it. But that doesn't come by just whatever. That comes by you stuffing it up.
Exercise the muscle, you know, experience. And then, you know, this the little details that you get on the way, you know, you're like, oh, I can grab that. I can use that as well, you know.
Totally.
And then all of a sudden you rock up and you know, you've got a bazooka, you know. Whatever
you're a bit more rounded. You're more well-rounded.
You've got more tools to be more adaptable in any situation.
Yeah.
And that's just life. That's just going to continue to happen. I mean, most people don't really stretch themselves, and that's why they kind of, you know, don't really hit what they want. Or, you know, they're too scared to aim for something.
Yeah.
But then the people that we admire in the world, the people that are really influential, just happen to be, you know, some of the most comfortable people in their own skin, purely because they've just jumped out and grown and really seen who they are and they really know what they're about.
Life's full of risks anyway. Like if you do nothing, it's a risk because the world's forever changing. Like if you're doing nothing, you're actually falling behind. Because so if you're going to go for something, it's a risk, but you're going to be risking not doing anything anyway. So both, if it's a yes or a no, you're both risking something.
100%.
So why not go yes and learn something, but instead of being no and be like, okay, cool, well, I didn't learn anything. I actually feel really guilty now that I didn't push as hard as I could in the gym. Now I'm at home showering, knowing I probably could have done an extra set or an extra rep, or I could have read those lines better, or I could have done that sales call better. I could have done that door-to-door person deal when I'm not on the door. I could have done it so much more better. Now you're at home thinking, fuck, I stuffed that up because I didn't give it 100%.
Right.
Or I didn't actually put myself out there. You know, and then like you said, why are you doing it? Like you probably could be letting, who are you letting down? Like it could be a family member, it could be an uncle, an auntie.
You're letting yourself down ultimately, but the great thing
it starts from,
is unless you're dead, you still have another opportunity to change it. You know what I mean? It's like I gave up today. Yeah. But it's not. That's not game over. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people was like, all right, well, I tried, but I didn't make it. It's like, well, you're still breathing. Like, what's your excuse?
Go
you
to
know
sleep,
what I mean?
go
Like,
again tomorrow.
Like, just keep going at it. Like, and that's how I kind of live. It's like, oh, I didn't get it today. What's next? Like, just boom, boom, boom. I'm willing to keep opening doors, keep trying to kick them in. Yeah. And I think that's a great mindset to have for me, especially.
Totally.
Works perfectly for
so
me.
what to finish on? What's 2019? What's it going to look like? What's big? What's happening? Where's Joshy Diaz going to be? When are we going to see you on a feature film? What's your vision?
I'm filming my first big feature film in Fiji, start of February.
Fiji, huh?
Yeah, Fiji. I've never been there, so it's exciting. It's a big movie.
Yeah.
So there's that. I'm going to go back to LA, hit pilot season.
Yep.
Just smash that out and just continue to keep auditioning and have no doubt that I'll just be booking more and more and just that's my mindset. I'll just be obtaining more and more, learning, growing, failing, learning, growing, and that's all it's about for me. And as long as I'm keeping my mind sharp and feeding it things that are going to feed me and that uplift me and keep me in an elevated mindset, that's all I'm desiring. You know what I mean? All the other things, that's where they're going to be sitting, is at the end of that uncomfortability and that trust within myself.
Yeah, they'll come on that journey.
100%.
Yeah, love that, man. Well, again, I'm sure we'll check in some stage next year.
Yes, sir.
When you're back in Melbourne, might rock up with an Oscar.
Well, I mean,
it's a possibility, you never know.
We're asking for that.
We're asking for it. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it'll be the year after. It'll be 2020. But no, I appreciate you coming on for the first ever show.
It's been a blast.
It's gonna be a big one. But again, have a safe new year, and I'm looking forward to chatting in the new year.
100%.
Thanks, Joshy boy.